inside of the Pizza Ranch studio. Hopefully, you can hear me. We had a little technical difficulties before. The good looking fellow at the bottom, that's me, J Mac. The second best looking guy, that's you can pick between these two other guys. We're going to start off with the big fellow up here on the left hand side. Guy Newcomb, you know I'm a scoreboard guy, and the other guy, well, everybody can't be second runner up or first runner up. We'll get out to DA, the coach himself, the mugshot, who picture looks like a mugshot. If your screen ever locks up and Darren Archer is there, he's the guy that steals vegetables out of your garden. That's his name, Darren Archer. Coach Archer, hey, glad you guys are here. Glad everyone is here. We're going to jump right into this NCAA men's basketball. We crowned us a champion. The song was sang at the end of the show. The ball is tipped. There you are, and a little tear came from my eye. The season's over with, gentlemen. We called UConn is the champion now. That's who won 76-59 over San Diego State. But let's go into the semifinal games where San Diego State beat Florida Atlanta 72-71, and UConn handily beat Miami 72-59. Coach, what were your thoughts on the San Diego State Florida Atlanta game?
That was a good game, very entertaining game. It looked like there in the second half that Florida Atlantic was going to walk the dog and head on to the national championship. And to San Diego State's credit, they just kept plugging away. I think they were down by as many as 14 with a little over 11 minutes left in the game. And to their credit, came back and they led at the only point in time in the second half when they needed to, and that's when the buzzer sounded. But they cut it awfully close.
They did, Guy. I know you were sitting right in front of the TV, eating a bowl full of popcorn. What was your thoughts on the game, my friend?
Oh, I thought with what San Diego State did to be able to come back in that game down to 14, they really let their defense turn into offense. They got a lot of steals late. Florida Atlantic was maybe just a little bit careless with the basketball, and especially late. And then to get that shot, at the buzzer, that guy, onions, as Raftery would say, to hit that shot, almost stepping out of bounds, but a tremendous game, and it may have hurt him 48 hours later to expend all that energy coming back and then have to take on a UConn team who really was never tested in the tournament.
Yeah, I agree with you. Lamont Butler was his name, and I really thought Florida Atlantic matched up better than anyone else inside that Final Four, those other three teams with UConn. I actually thought that they might have gave a better game. We'll never know. Lamont Butler hits the shot. Florida Atlantic, I fell for them. They were my Cinderella team. That's why I wanted to see kind of pull it off. UConn goes into the championship game and pretty much has their way. San Diego State put up a slight battle toward the end, but ended up falling up short. I think their knees did. Their legs gave out on them. But here's what the question is, fellas. Is UConn a blue blood? So, Coach, you have all the blue bloods in your mind. Tell me who you are. Let our audience know who you feel are true blue bloods. And then I'm going to ask you a question afterwards.
Sure. I think UCLA has to be at the top or near the top of that list. Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, Kansas, Indiana, I think are all considered blue bloods. And when you look at what UConn has done, I do think that they've earned that right to be lopped in with that group of what a lot of people consider blue bloods.
I do too, Coach. Now let me ask you this before I go to you, Guy. Coach, you got to take one of those out. You can't keep one of them in. All of those. You got to put UConn in. One of them got to come out. I know you're born and raised in Indiana, but come on, Coach. Indiana hasn't won anything. I think I was probably about 207 pounds. That's a long time ago, Coach. That's a long time ago. Last time Indiana won something. Coach, why is Indiana a blue blood?
I think just with the history there, they've won 5 national championships, 3 under the general, Robert Montgomery Knight, and just the history that was there. Are they a top tier blue blood type program right now? No, they're not. They are not on that list currently speaking, but I think you have to take into consideration the entire history of basketball and the programs and total number of games won, national championships, just being out in the forefront. Um, Unfortunately, and you're going to make me say it, if I have to take one off, that's probably the one I'm taking off is Indiana.
Yeah, I had to have you say it, Coach, because it says to be a blue blood, you're considered elite class of basketball programs. I don't know if Indiana's there right now. Guy, I know your body pumps red blood, and you understand what a blue blood means, guy. Who do you think who are your blue bloods?
Well, I think it's Kentucky, Kansas. I mean, Kansas just won a national championship a year ago. I think Kansas is in there, and I North Carolina. Of course, they went last year, and I think Duke's got to be in there. But I think UConn, UConn with what they've done. I mean, they've won 5 national championships in 24 years, and they've done it with 3 different coaches. So I think you have to put them in there. No one else has won 5 national championships in the last 25 years. And you look at what that means just for the Big East. When Jay Stevens left Villanova, I thought, okay, that's Big East is done. They're not going to get back, and they didn't have as many tournament entries when you look at that conference related to other conferences. And for them to get all the way through there and go undefeated, I believe they went undefeated in their non-conference schedule. So I think UConn has to be in there. Indiana and what Bobby Knight did. I mean, 20 years ago, yeah, they're probably a blue bud. But right now, they're not. And I think part of that, too, when you look at blue bloods, is maybe you look at the coaches. Bill Self's been at Kansas for a long time. North Carolina had, coaches that were there for a long time. Indiana had Knight, who was there for a long time. And obviously Duke was Krzyzewski. Danny Hurley's in his, 3rd or 4th year there at UConn. And he's really built it up, and he called a shot 3 or 4 years ago on Twitter. He said, hey, look out, here we come.
He said it.
Here they are. And they're going to be good again next year.
They're going to be good again next year. Gentlemen, I thought the tournament overall brought me into college basketball. I think I watched it during the season. Everyone watches the tournament from those first day kind of buzzer beaters. I thought it was a great tournament overall. I thought the Final Four kind of was decided once UConn got in there. But am I the only one that when one shining moment comes on, sheds a tear? Am I the only one that feels the emotion? That song has to be one of the top sports songs as far as defining and capturing a whole 3-week tournament that just puts everyone in such a however long tournament it puts everyone in such a moment that whoever made that song was brilliant. I know Luther Vandross used to sing. I think it was remade. But man, you can mark this segment Big Mac cries because it's a heck of a what does that mean for you when you see that one shining moment, DA?
Well, being in the game as a coach, as a player, it kind of marks the end of basketball season.
Yeah.
And you kind of put that to rest, and it gets me in the gizzard every single year it plays.
Yeah.
I've threatened to stop watching it because I'm the same way. I'm a grown man, but I'm crying when that song plays, and it just kind of, as a coach, as a former coach, as a current coach, you kind of look back and reflect on the season and the grind that you have to go through, some of the battles that you have to go through, and at that point you just self-reflect and kind of look back, and makes it all worth it.
I know, big fella. What about your thoughts? Are you just too hardcore of a man to let that little song get to you, hung
No,
guy?
it gets emotional, for me. I enjoy watching it. Another part of the emotion is, for the longest time, as long as I can remember, Jim Nance has been a part of the Final Four, and this was his last one. And, this is the greatest week in professional sports because you've got the Final Four going on. You've got baseball starting up, and now you've got a tradition like no other, who Jim Nance is also a part of. That they had the par 3 tournament, on Wednesday, and then they get going on Thursday, and this is just a huge week that really kind of kicks off spring. You plant your tomatoes, and you're probably going to have to start mowing your yard.
Yeah.
And so it is emotional.
Yeah.
But I think Jim Nance being done, I think that kind of added to it.
True. Very, very, very true. Well said, gentlemen. Well, We're going to conclude this segment. We'll be right back with you. We're going to talk a little ladies hoops, a little NCAA women's basketball. It got interesting. Friday and Sunday were two very interesting days. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Huddle Up here on the Missouri Sports Network inside the Pizza Ranch studio. We'll be right back.